Hey, what's up everybody, Gaijin Guinea Pig here, and today I am finally, yes, finally, going to watch the Zane Lowe blink-182 interview that happened a couple of weeks ago now at this point, and I just never had any time to get around to it. I've been quite busy moving from the States to Japan and getting started with classes. It's been a whole thing settling in, and I haven't had a moment. Please, stop yelling at me. I just haven't had a moment to really get into it, but now, here I am on the cusp of a 3-day weekend. I have a little bit more time to do a long-form video, and when I do those, I shrink myself, put myself in the corner, you know, put the rest of the video up on full screen. We can watch it together and have a good old time. But my best friend was like, yo, you have to watch this. Die-hard Blink-182 fans have to watch this. They really get into it. It gets quite candid. It gets a little awkward at times, and I love awkward. You see, that was awkward. You thought maybe your video froze, but I was just making things awkward. So let's just get into it. It's over an hour. I'm going to try and upload the whole thing. Very ambitious, I know, but the upload speeds in Japan are crazy. Like, it is night and day from the upload speeds I had back in the States, but I digress. I think this might actually be interesting coming from the perspective of having spent some time with the album as well, to hear them sort of talk about it before it's released to the world. But we've sat with it, we've listened to it ad nauseum, quite frankly I have. And yeah, it'll be interesting from that perspective. So let's just stop wasting time and get into this interview, shall we? Alright, so I'm up here in the corner. I'm going to try not to interject too much. I'll give my thoughts throughout, but you know me, I don't like to stop videos because I don't like to talk over whoever's going on in the video, and the same will apply today. I'm just going to try not to talk over anybody, but I'll interject my thoughts when possible. So let us start the Blink-182 Zane Lowe interview.
Is there a difference between the red and the black sides of this? Is one like bouncier? One have more grip or something?
What's happening, man?
Good to see you. How's life?
How's everything?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Is this us just like chopping it up, just
Just
like being real, just like us, like we do? Getting everyone together for a game of paintball.
The memories with that
Where's the
photo
other dude?
alone.
Hey, want to join us?
Are we starting?
All right, fuck all y'all. I'm gonna get serious.
It's not even like this guy's dying to be on my team or anything. Look at this.
Point. Did somebody turn on my microphone? Because I. Oh, nice one.
I'll take it. I love how you're the only artist I've ever spoken to in my life that double-checked whether your mics were working. This is a whole new thing.
Well, I'm a narc normally. I always have to think like, is the wire on? Am I gonna get found out?
There's a thing about musicians, right? That everyone says they're really good at table tennis. I'm not sure if we qualify for that.
I don't like table tennis, and in fact, this gives me anxiety.
I'm getting
and
anxiety.
I'm not
That's a
enjoying
terrible
table tennis.
idea.
Do you like table
Let's
tennis?
have a good game, yeah.
Okay,
We gotta
cool.
at least
We're
look
doing
good on
real.
camera.
I'm assuming this is Travis's place,
No
and
wonder these guys don't.
wow, it's beautiful.
Ooh, nice.
So clean
Get out of here.
All right.
and modern.
It's broken.
Clean looking. I don't
We
mean
could
like
do.
spotless.
In my wildest dreams, did I ever think that I'd press play on this album and it would hit as hard as it hits, be as honest as it is, capture everything that I love about the band, but just like bigger and so bold and just so honest and straight up. So thank you as a fan
Thank
for
you.
making this
Awesome.
record.
You know what?
Thank
That
you.
could have gone a different way. He's all, never in my wildest dreams. I think I put it on and like it. That's it. I was like,
Yeah, right? Like, can
Everyone
you
around
imagine
us
if you
up till
didn't?
Now has been so disappointing. Finally,
what are
you
you trying to
deliver.
say?
It just sounds like friendship to me. It just sounds like true friendship that's come back together and feel like everyone's supporting each other.
As corny as that
As
sounds,
players,
I
as
agree with that.
writers. There isn't a song where someone isn't backing up someone's sentiment in a very real way. And even just the collaborative nature of it. The people you worked with, that I know you've all worked with individually and now as a group, it felt like it was important that your worlds really came together more than just as the three, right? That everyone came through, Travis?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was very collaborative, and the album feels like very full, like a real body of work, like an album.
Yeah, it really does. There's that word friendship that keeps coming back.
Can we
to
talk
me,
about
right?
Tom
Kind of like
bringing
that is the
sambas back, by the way?
fundamental reason why
I used to rock the hell out of
come in
sambas.
here and have this conversation is that I just don't feel we would have believed it unless the friendship felt real this time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it had to feel entirely authentic. And so I guess the first real question today is, would you have taken the friendship and not the band this time? Would it have been enough just to bring everybody back together as people and gone, but maybe we don't keep making music
No.
together?
But I do. But I,
Yes, absolutely. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Was like, you know, we came back together as friends
Baby
and we're
Coke.
talking and texting and hanging out long before we talked about getting back together as a band. You know, it was a while. I think it was always in the back of everyone's head once we all started connecting again. But when Tom and I started talking, I was sick, so that's kind of where it all started. At least as far as me and Tom reconnecting. I mean, Travis and I have been connecting for a long time.
Consistently throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to the beginning of the friendship, which I'm not sure we ever really touched on because we were just hitting the ground running, right? When we first sort of met, the whole world was talking about Blink, and I felt like it was the beginning of this crazy ride in a big, big way. But I never really went earlier than that. I never even asked you sort of what your first impression of Mark was when you met him, like the very first day you guys met, or what.
We're going back.
Well, Mark got sick, and like, you know, it was similar when Travis had his accident back in the day. You kind of, nothing matters, really. Like, everything that's just dumb, peripheral, it's all petty when you have like real human things happen. So it feels like it's an instant thing. I feel like there's a real sense of brotherhood with us. And like any brothers, you have your little, you know, spats over the years, and you go apart, you come back together, but you're always got a foundation that you're connected. That's kind of, you know, you're still inseparable.
This interview better not
so,
make
I mean,
me cry.
sitting with them, I think the friendship is the easy part. Work was always kind of had its harder parts in some ways, but that wasn't even hard when we realize like someone's sick, you know? The first thing I wanted to do was work with these guys. And in both cases where we went apart and came back together, you know, at least for me, it's just like the human part of it is so important to me, and I know it is to them too, but like, I think once that is like front and center, everything else becomes like really easy. Like what's the issues are never mountains, they're just pebbles, you know? I remember sitting with Mark at his house, and it was just very much like, you're sick, we're gonna get you through this, and we're gonna make the best music we ever made. Let's do it. Like, let's have a North Star. Because I wanted him to have a North Star. You know, I didn't want him to be, you know, not that it's up to me, but just, hey, I'm here, and we're gonna go and kick ass. So let's just get you through this like fucking thing that you're in right now, and let's get you healed. Let's like move through it, and let's build a better.
Yes, my eyes are getting watery.
Super
Shut
thoughtful,
up.
but when you do get sick, or when something in your life shakes the foundation of your future and what's possible, it's never that simple, is it? It gets more complicated, I feel, the more people want to kind of engage and reach out and say, hey, we can do it. Sometimes it can be hard to accept that.
That's
Yeah.
how I
You're
am.
dealing with it in
With
real
little
time.
stuff. Like, leave me
I
alone.
was afraid to accept anybody's support, really, aside from my closest and dearest. Like, my world shrunk down really small. When I found out that I got sick, like, I just really brought everything in to a tight-knit, close group of people, my wife, my son, my dearest friends. I didn't say anything online. I thought for sure that the second that people found out that I was sick, there'd be all the haters online being like, you fucking asshole, you deserve to die.
Jesus.
So I was in chemotherapy.
It'd be like that.
Yeah.
It was my third session, and I was gonna post to my Instagram like, chemotherapy number 3, let's go, whatever.
Yeah.
And
I remember
they already
that
gave me my
leak.
first medication, which just makes me feel like I'm on an overnight flight, like super jet lagged, tired, woozy out of it, all this shit. So they gave me my first medicine, I posted the picture, and then our publicist called me like 2 minutes later. No, I'm sorry, our manager, April, called me.
Like,
and was
what the hell are you doing?
Did you mean to post that on Maine? And at that point, they were giving me my actual chemo drugs.
Right.
And so, like, literally, I see the things coming down the
man.
tube, like going into my body, and I'm like, oh
Cat.
shit, I posted on Maine.
Cat's out of the bag.
And all that day, people were calling and people were texting and all this stuff. And I was going home from chemotherapy sick, feel like sweaty, shitty, full of all these poisons, and I had to pull over on the side of the road and make a statement online. And from that moment, the outpouring of love and support and people, random people I thought hated my guts, old people that I'd like been friends with and fallen out with, people that I've never met ever, like so much love and support. It was really awesome.
That's right, Mark.
I
We
wish
love
I would
you.
have said it sooner because I think it would have helped me through some really awful times, but I was really restored to my faith in humanity and kindness in people.
Yeah, I mean, that's a happy accident. I can see why it would have been stressful at first, though, because I think there is this natural inclination when you're dealing with something that really only you can kind of comprehend with a small group of people, that the idea of the world knowing about it, when you've actually been trying to figure out how to deal with the world knowing who you are in the first place, has got to be really overwhelming. And I'm glad that it worked out that way for you. But I think your instincts in the beginning were probably right, to be honest with you. You know, keep it tight.
Yeah.
You know, keep it tight. And I think that's what we all fell in love with the band in the beginning, was it felt like you didn't give a fucking shit what the rest of the world thought, except the three of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have, the shit you were saying on stage.
Well, I mean, we're
the
touring. We
days.
just got off a giant tour, and literally Tom, I mean, we're stupid, but Tom and I are trying to whisper things back and forth through the microphone on stage in front of 15,000 people that we think is funny between us, and we're trying to be like, hey.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, you hear that? You hear that stupid thing?
Forgot that there's a going through the speakers. You know, it's 2023, right? I mean, no one needs to go through the speakers, but everybody can hear everything now. What we have always done is like we try to entertain each other. If I turn around and Travis is actually laughing at something we said, I was like, okay, we get like, it's a victory.
Is that
The
pretty rare?
Stone
They give me
Century.
sometimes.
We'll get
Yeah,
them
they give me-
sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's no pattern.
But it keeps it keeps it light,
Yeah.
honestly, and not like, you know, we've never taken ourselves too seriously.
But you have as well. That's the beauty
Well, I
of
mean, like
it.
on stage.
On stage, yeah.
You know, we've always kept it like fun, but on music and creatively, yes.
Yes, that's the thing I think everybody's realized over the course of the band's history, is that the music has always been dead serious, even when you've peppered the album with these moments, you know. There's a couple on this record for sure.
We're always
Yeah.
Blink, and we're always
Just
gonna
a
be that,
couple.
but I do think that that's something that I've always loved about Blink, is that we can write a song like Stay Together for the Kids, or Adam's Song, or on this record, One More Time.
Yeah.
And we can write a song like What's My Age Again, or we can write a song like First Date, or we can write these different things and different emotions and still have fun when we're on stage.
We are exactly who we are. You know, I mean, like,
We're just as God made
we're
us.
just as God made us. I mean, like, you know, we get on stage and obviously we joke around and stuff, but the sad part is we literally do that off stage too. It's like there's no boundaries.
Was it always the case when you guys first met, when you were kids?
Some of their
Was it
Instagram
like, oh, we make each
stories
other
were
laugh
so
out the gate?
funny
That was
backstage.
That's
during this
literally where
most
we should
recent
build music
tour.
around this. You know.
Yeah, I went over to Tom's house. I just moved to San Diego to go to college. The day that I went to San Diego, got in my car at my dad's house in the desert, drove to San Diego to move into my mom's house to start college, brought in my garbage bag full of clothes, put it down, sat down on the bed. What the hell do I do now? My sister's like, let's go see my boyfriend's friend Tom. He plays guitar, he skateboards, he's funny, you're gonna like him. So we went over to Tom's house, and he and I wrote a song that night that we
It's the
still
kind
play
of
today.
stuff that
He Mark shows up with his hair like
People
this.
say
He's got
that's
bracelets up his
destiny.
arm. He's
That's
got
the kind
every
of stuff
punk
they're
rock
talking
band on the
about.
back of his car that I loved.
Just
like
meant to be.
40 stickers. I was like, rad, 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 rad. I was like,
I'm in.
I'm in. And he played bass the same way I play guitar, just downstrokes, which is, we both grew up, all three of us grew up with the Descendants, you know,
Yeah.
so you kind of learn to play a certain way. And honestly, we were like fitting the band in around the nights we weren't skateboarding, you know, like, I think rock and roll has a service of being authentic. And I think that, you know, pop music is amazing and huge. But I think with rock and roll specifically, you really, it really does its best work when you know like who the members are and what they're about, you know, because it can change kind of, as a kid, you're like, you dress like them, you hang out with people that like them.
It's a total
You're like-
identity form.
It's an identity thing. And
Lord knows I was
think
dressing in
we're doing a
Hurley
pretty good job
Hurley shirts and
unashamedly
Dickies,
being ourselves, you know,
Dickies
and,
shorts.
but you know, growing up
Back in
the
the anime
suburbia, it
days.
still has its troubles, like
Yeah.
broken families and heartbreak and not knowing where your life path takes you. But on the off nights, a lot of dick jokes and getting into trouble, breaking laws here and there, fucking with people because you're bored because there's nothing to do out there. So we would be up all night long just doing crazy shit.
Tom
Up all night.
had this dummy that was closed, stuffed with newspaper, so it would look like an actual human body, and they would like throw it off a freeway overpass into oncoming
God.
traffic, or
Don't, I did do that, but
like beat it up underneath the streetlight, so it looked like
We're beating someone up,
So it
huh?
looked like they were just beating
Wow.
some random dude up.
or the alternate version where he had his legs crossed with a big gulp. And cars would come, stop, get out of the fucking road. And it's just some dude sleeping there. We would just sit in the bushes, see how long it takes till the guy gets out of his car and he's pissed. But I mean, we were always doing stuff like that. And but that group of friends, and some of them were pro skateboarders, some of them were just derelicts. Were the ones that went on tour with us in the very beginning. But really, it's just, you know, you meet someone like Travis who lived a couple hours north that grew up the exact same way, you know, and so you have this crazy cultural symbiotic relationship of Southern California, and I always thought it would be a tragedy for us to lose that, you know. And the cool thing is in a band, you get like all this crazy maturity and latitude and scope with like business and like accountability, whatever, but you don't have to grow up.
Yeah.
You actually get rewarded.
Yeah, I think it was the chemistry that you talked about. I think it was the playing, the songwriting, and it was that Southern California spirit. But can we just also talk a little bit?
It just
shouts
lets
to
us
Northern
stay young
California,
in
can
our
we talk a
heart.
little bit about the indelible and absolutely unmistakable influence, life-changing influence that Travis joining the band was and remains? Like,
So Travis is the X factor in Blink. So the general way that Blink works is
No doubt.
Tom and I will write some songs. Like, it's changed over the years. Like Travis is bringing in a lot of songs that he starts now. But generally in the past, like Tom and I were bringing in a song, and then we'd show it to Travis. I'd show him a drum beat. I go, maybe it goes like this. And Travis would go, yeah, yeah. And then he'd go into the live room and do something completely different that elevates the song to a brand new level. And Tom and I write, Tom calls it nursery rhyme punk, where it's kind of like, you know, sing-along songs that are really catchy and kind of simple. Travis takes that and makes it intelligent and interesting and does all these different rhythms on top of it. And he's done that since the first time that we played with him and the first songs we wrote with him. And, you know, watching Travis grow from a drummer who was really interested in music into being a drummer who's also a producer and songwriter himself. Has
the
been really
producer
awesome.
now on the record. I mean, like,
Yeah.
literally stepped in and pretty much entirely
Arguably
produced
one of the
records,
world's
built
best drummers.
This incredible space, your space, out of doing that.
Yeah,
Out of
his
just
space
dedication
is
to music.
amazing.
Yeah, this is my home. This
Holy
is where I spend
crap.
the majority of my time, and
I would too.
and do what
And
I
I
love.
don't play
Like a
drums.
day spa in here.
I would, yeah,
It's like
it's
a
a
punk rock
day
day
spa.
No, it's true. When
beautiful.
you joined the band, it felt like it really stepped up, and I feel like there's been a constant throughout this, even through this kind of on and off again relationship of you being in Blink or not, or Boxcar Rep, +4, all these things that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like you always saw this, even sometimes when you two did it, that you saw the joy from a distance that this band is. Is that fair to say?
Of course, yeah. I mean, it was always on for me. There was never a time where I was like, I don't want to play with, you know, with Blink or Mark and Tom. And yeah, it was kind of like the same. We all had the same goals. When Mark was sick, I was just over there as like a friend and giving him the support that that he needed, that I wanted to give him. But then there was like the meeting of all three of us, and it was a no-brainer for me that of course we would do it again, and it was always my first priority and my first love.
Was it tough at
musically.
times, you know, watching the fact that Mark
Travis
and
is a real
Tom
one.
weren't necessarily on speaking terms? Again, I always got this sense that you were in contact with him and you were playing with him and that you were sort of in the middle of this.
Yeah, I always knew that the brotherhood wouldn't ever deteriorate or wouldn't be there. It was just a matter of like finding the right time for it all to happen. And
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy, like on the album, like One More Time is kind of written about that, is like written about like why does it take these catastrophes like me being in a plane crash or Mark being sick for our band to get back together.
It's an interesting psychological question because the idea of healing through trauma, it seems so natural, and yet when it happens repetitively, it's like, to your point, why does it have to happen that way? Can we heal without there being some trauma that forces us into a situation and brings us together? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, because I didn't know that Blink would ever get back together or that I would ever share a stage with Tom. And I told management, I told Travis, I told everybody, I'm like, I'm not setting foot on stage again with that dude. Not
Wow.
a chance. I mean, that's the
Wow.
truth. But I mean, I've always thought Tom's one of the best songwriters in the world and one of my favorite songwriters. But, you know, there was a lot of bad blood. There was a lot of stuff in the press and feelings and all this stuff. And then, honestly, like, I got sick. Just by random chance, Tom hit me up and was like, hey, check it out, I'm making art with Angels and Airwaves. And it was literally Tom like this, and behind him were 6 women in their underwear and high heels and bras. And he was shooting an Angels and Airwaves music video with these models. And he's like, hey,
I forget
check
that
it out.
song,
And I'm
but
like,
I do remember that
that's
video.
great, awesome, stoked for you. By the way, I have lymphoma, blah, blah. And Tom snapped into this person and like immediately was like,
Yeah.
called me every morning. What's going on?
Wow.
How are you feeling? Let's go. Let's get you through this. You're going to beat this. And I hadn't really heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd heard it from people and like, you know, oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, dude. It's going to be okay. It's going to be good. You got this. And people would say things to me like, oh, it's a good thing they got
A
it
little
early. And I'm
choked
like,
up.
I have no idea if they fucking caught it early. Like, I have stage 4 cancer. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But Tom was always like, we're going to get you through this. We're going to do this. We're going to all this stuff. And healing through the band, like, once I was clear of the cancer diagnosis and got the all clear, I was still a fucking hollow, just shell, shitty, weak, brain like eaten with the chemotherapy and pain and everything else, just a hollow shell. And then getting back in the studio to make this record was like learning how to fucking play bass again, learning how to, like, the chemotherapy wrecked my vocal cords. I had to go to work with a vocal coach. I had to rebuild my throat. I had like all this stuff I had to rebuild to get to the point where we could go and walk on stage at Coachella and have one of the biggest shows of our career and have this album, which touch wood, is one of, like,
we have been waiting
It's the
for
best
you.
album you've ever made, and I say
the
that as
thing
a
is-
lifelong Enema fan, you know?
The thing is, like, it's all through the healing of this band and this
Take it
music
easy,
and this
Zane.
record and us coming back together.
Let it
We sat
ferment a little
down
while.
at the very beginning, and we said the only way that we're going to do Blink-182 again is if it's fucking fun. If we can do it our own way.
That's all
and
that
not
should
have
matter.
people over our shoulders telling us you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. For
Preach.
instance, on this record, we're like, we don't want to do a shit ton of press. We want to talk to somebody that we love, that gets the fucking music, and I don't want to answer these questions about what does a fucking 182 mean and blah, blah, blah. And so, like, to have you here with us, like, that's our whole fucking plan for this record, is to launch it by talking to you, who knows music and is a friend of ours and gets the shit. We're not going to play
sorry I
shows we
didn't
don't
get
want
to
to
it
play.
sooner,
We're not going
Mark.
to take photos we don't want to take. We're not going to do this stuff. And so, really, our mission statement with this whole thing was, like, imagine if Blink were the fucking Beastie Boys. Like, that's our call to arms. Would the fucking Beastie Boys do
Yes.
it? Would the Ramones do it?
Yes.
Would fucking any of the bands that would Fugazi do this shit? If we're not down with it and if we don't want to do it, then fuck everybody. We're going to do it our way. And now, touch wood, it feels like the best time in the band.
He's
in
on the mountain
forever.
testifying.
Like, we own it.
Preach,
It's our
Mark.
creative vision. It's us three together. You know, people will come with us on ideas and things like that. And then in the end, it's like, Travis will have an idea. What if we dress up like the Ramones for the video? Or Tom will have this idea. Or I'll have something, and it just feels like we finally own our band again.
Fuck, I love that. Shit, man, friendship is kind of fucking wasted on your 30s, I think. It's at its best in your teens and your 20s.
Well, I
then
think
everyone in their 30s kind of loses their fucking mind a bit, and then you come back together.
Yeah, you know, you kind of figure out who you are at this point, you know, and if you don't know who you are, you're in a lot of trouble in life, I think. But we've
people
been
never
through a lot,
figure
you
out.
know, and I think like this is the best form of us. I mean, even our shows, like even our old songs we're playing sound new. Because I think
Yeah.
we're playing them with this ferocity.
They sound great.
And just playing it
On
with
this recent
more
tour?
skill. And it just, I don't know, it's weird. It makes them really feel timeless to me.
Coachella was
Tom's
out of
guitar
control.
playing
I mean, I've
sounds
seen
really
the band.
good.
Part
His
of the charm
vocals are
was always
better
watch you go on
than they've
stage
been
and
in
figure it out.
years.
That was part of that. It felt like an investment, actually, from a fan point of view, because sometimes I feel like we were singing the songs where you guys are figuring out and remembering the words. But it's like, this time, to your point, watching you play these songs, it's like, holy shit. Like, you are really firing on all cylinders now, everybody playing.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Like,
that. I feel we really
does-
are.
they do
you
sound
know, like when we first started, I mean, a lot of people don't know, we were in a van playing with punk rock, like rad punk bands in clubs for like 7, 8 years or something.
Yeah.
People lighting drumsticks on fire in their ass, naked, this, that, mosh pits everywhere, mohawks.
sounds
There was
fun.
a shit ton of like riots at our shows, all those shows
Yep.
we used to play in Florida and stuff. Then you become kind of bigger and you don't really realize you're getting bigger and you don't even really feel like you should be there, maybe, at least for me. Like, I don't know, we deserve this. You just kind of be yourself.
Because you feel like you could go home. I always wondered about that. When you became Blink, the Enema, and it became arenas and touring with Green Day and crazy shit, you know, MTV,
went to that
TRL,
tour.
mad times.
Blink
you know,
and Green
the start
Day.
of what I would consider to be kind of popular culture and music, very much coming together
And
in
the
a
Mark,
very
Tom,
sort
and
of
Travis
youth culture
show
way.
at
Could you
Fiddler's
go
Green
home to the
Amphitheater in
punk clubs at
Colorado.
that time as much as you felt like you're out of place in the other places?
I mean, my point with what you're saying is like, as we were getting bigger, we were like, let's just continue to be us. Because
Yeah.
when you're in the punk rock clubs and anything goes. It would be funny if we didn't know the fucking song and we would stop and just be like, whose fault was that?
Yeah.
And then do that song 2 more times, you know, which we still kind of do to this day. But I think like now, like we really have this professional lens that we've added, you know, over the years. And it's really cool. It's really challenging to try to be the best you can be, but not really use that youthful spirit. So I think we have one foot still where
Yeah.
we came from, like you said.
That is why
but
I
we
still
kinda really
love
have
them.
this new take on
They
ourselves
never
where we came back
fully
this time. We
left
just really wanted to be the
their
best
past.
version of ourselves. But that was a lot of stuff. That's like not only how you play the songs or the next songs you write, it's really how you perform the songs, the production you bring, and how you
Totally.
respect each other's creative visions and
Yeah.
how you come together and let everyone feel like they can be themselves.
I love that we walk on stage in an arena and it feels to me like a club show. It could go wrong, we could fuck up, we can make a joke about it. We have the best production designers and crew in the business designing the most incredible show that looks crazy, has fire, lasers, cryo, pyro, stuff moving, giant
Cool
figures, and
stuff.
it all feels fun and joyous and awesome, and it feels like it could fall off the rails at any second,
Yeah.
and that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Like, I love that that's what a Blink show feels like. It feels like a giant party. Everyone come over. We're gonna throw up a PA. We're gonna have some cool lights, and we're gonna have some fun.
That's what the music always felt like, and it still feels like to this day. I mean, I really want to get into this album. I want to talk about the journey to it, but I kind of feel like we have to make good on this shit table tennis game and actually a ping pong game and have a little walk around
Let's go to
here.
a real tennis court and see how that goes.
Is this
long
the
have you been in this
halfway
space for?
point?
About
me
2
check.
years now.
No.
So was a lot of the record recorded here?
The majority of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds incredible.
Only 1/4
I mean,
of the
look
way
at these
through.
guys. Can you fucking believe it?
No.
I mean, how old are you there? I
Iconic
can't even
picture,
remember.
I'm
in my
probably
opinion.
12.
I had that poster.
Look about them. You don't look anything like you though. It's crazy.
You know, it is, I do feel like I recognize those guys. You know what I do notice is our tattoos are a bit younger, so they're like the colors are
There's
better.
a lot missing.
Yeah, it's fading.
But that was a wild ride. You know, when we
I
made
bet.
that record,
Enema
I remember I
just
went in and
took
sat
them
with
to
the
a
president
whole
of the
nother
label.
level.
We had no idea if the band was gonna be like irrelevant that year or not. You don't know. We're literally just still in clubs and shit. And the president goes, 3 things are gonna happen in the next 6 months. You're gonna be more famous than you ever thought you could be. You're gonna make more money than you ever thought you could be, and you're gonna be in arenas by fall.
This is the most record industry
And
meeting I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, but show me the lie. Show me the lie.
So he says this, I am not joking. He says this, and I literally laughed out loud and spit my drink. I swear to you, it was an audible laugh. I thought the guy was so high. And we were in arenas that fall. And I do remember at the last show at our first arena tour, I walked out after soundcheck or something. It's an empty arena on stage, and I remember I just did this little prayer. I was just like really grateful that I had one chance in my life to play a show like that or a series of shows like that.
Yeah.
Because I did not think that was going to happen again. I thought we barely squeezed into there.
What are you
with
drinking,
a little bit
Mark?
of hype we had that year, but
Yeah.
things just kept going. It's just wild.
Black cherry.
I think back to that album and I think back to a song like
million.
Adam's song, and I think that was kind of weirdly, in a
amazing.
very, very real way,
Given their-
an anchor moment
where they
for
came
all of us
from?
and you,
4 million.
because we knew we had fun listening to your music and we knew that the jokes were funny and you were great, an incredible band, but that was when it was like, let's see where this goes.
That was a hard song, you know. That was a song that I wrote when I was really depressed, and that's a song that's resonated with me for the rest of my life, and one that I hope to take with me forever. But yeah, that was I was nervous to show that song to Travis and Tom when I first wrote it, and I thought it was maybe too off kilter with the rest of the record, because the rest of the record is really anthemic and youthful and go out and let's have a great time. And here's a song about feeling really down, and they loved it. They took that idea and made it the song that it is.
I think too, like what you need to understand about blink-182 is that we didn't come out of like joyous homes. We didn't come out of just this crazy, everything's happy. We came from a lot of heartbreak, broken families, and a lot of fist fights and domestic violence and crazy shit. And so Blink was always a way to force happiness, you know, play as fast as you can, you know, have as much edge as you can, and you just attack. You attack and force the happiness in the
I
room.
loved that lean back
and it
play
was
style
angst.
that
It was
Tom used to
pure
have.
angst. And I think that the
Lean
fans
back
that really
with his tongue
understand
out.
Blink understood that. It's not we're just writing catchy songs. We were trying
And
to
now
fix
he
and make up for
tries to
a troubled
do the
youth.
splits,
but
spread his
that's
legs as
what
far
great
as
rock- That's what
possible
great punk rock does. You know,
on
it's
the
a vehicle
sides
for
of his
emotion,
feet.
and that's the emotion we were trying to force upon ourselves and
evolution.
everyone around us.
I mean, it was just this joyous ride through the first 3 albums, and then you make album number 4. And then I remember hearing about Boxcar Racer and going, oh yeah, of course. That's what people do. They go and they form other bands and have fun, do other shit and come back around. But as the years progressed, the next few years, it felt like that did plant some like seeds of discontent within the band. Is that kind of when things started to feel uncomfortable?
I don't know if it was that or if it was before that and that just manifested it more or what it was. It definitely like drove feelings in the band, and we've gone over that, and Tom and I argued about it and screamed at one another and broken up and gotten back together and come to a good place with it all. I think that was a catalyst, but not the spark.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think what happened potentially is like, you know, the band was so busy for so many years and you have to keep going and touring 10 months out of the year, and when starting families, and then your priorities aren't necessarily to each other anymore because you have a wife and you have kids.
Well, especially coming from a divorce situation, I mean,
Yeah.
you never want to break that cycle more than when you start your own family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and shit, and that cycle fucking keeps going for us too, you know. So it's like, it's hard, and at the time too, I'm trying to figure out ways just to be happy. But you also want to challenge yourself artistically, but you're not really thinking of the ramifications. You're not really thinking about how other people feel. You're not mature enough to handle the situation, potentially for myself. And
There are redundant feelings when you look back on them. It's crazy. They're so real at the moment. In the moment, it just creates this reaction. It's almost
Yeah,
visceral, you
well,
know? And you look back on it and you're like, what the fuck?
It was 22 years ago. It's like, you know, it's a
On
long
his cell
time.
phone.
A long
you're
time.
young and you have ego involved with yourself, and you just got selfishness that you're trying to find to do something that you're just, you know, for me, like I always loved the art of it. I like the challenge.
Everyone
And
wanted the
honestly, too, I
Tom
remember,
hair
at the
back
time,
then.
These guys are such great musicians. I remember thinking, like, I don't know what I could do if I didn't have that support system right away.
You didn't feel like you felt like you were like not pulling your weight to some degree?
It's not that. It's not that I feel like I pull my weight. It's just kind of like I was curious if I could explore other sides of punk rock that, you know, without like, you know, the backstop with these guys. Even though I did end up doing that with Travis for sure, but my intention really was just discovery, because I don't know if it was gonna be big or not. I just wanted to try something. Now I know it's like Blink can do any kind of music. Like we literally have big, heavy kind of boxcar-y songs, but we also have slow Adam song type songs, and we have songs that we feel were influenced by like the Police or something. Maybe no one else would hear it, but we understand where we get our influences from. And so we really don't have boundaries in this band. We've done a lot of different styles of music. We can
I was
put out a
surprised
full
to
new
hear
wave
Terrified
song
was
if
an
we
old
wanted to. I
Boxcar
don't
song,
think
but
anyone's
now
gonna
every
think that's
time I
weird.
hear it,
What's about to
I
come out?
absolutely
You know,
hear
it's
the
true. There are a
Boxcar
couple of those things on
influence
there.
it.
And it's a fucking banger, by the way. Seriously.
But like, you know, back in the day, you don't know, and you get caught up in who you think you are, who you're supposed to be. There's also, too, when we were getting a lot of the fame back then, we had a lot of people that were revolting against it, because that's just kind of how the punk rock scene worked back then.
That's what I was kind of asking about
Yeah, so
before.
you get a
I
little
wondered
bit
how
of-
the reaction was.
You
remember
can
that
act like you don't
time, and
care,
they were
but
getting
you
all
kinda
sorts of
care.
shit
You
from
kinda- Then you
bands
start to guess
and different
yourself
people.
a little bit. I mean, it was so funny. I mean, we played a show in Europe one time, and there's these pissed off punk rock kids that were like throwing bottles and shit,
Yeah.
because we did the boy band video where we made fun of the boy bands, but the label took stills from that video and used them as posters, and we look like a boy band. And so when we did the next album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, we're like, we're wearing black, we're wearing all black, we're no more color. You know, because
Yeah.
then you're like, but there was nothing wrong with what we were doing, but you're young and you're just trying to correct and overcorrecting because you're going 100 miles an hour down the highway. But fuck, I mean, this is like, you're watching kids grow up and learn how to stay friends, learning how to be the brothers they are,
Yeah.
learning how to become better musicians, better artists, and
Yeah,
you
that's a
see
lot
the
of crap being
progression.
thrown
There's
at
a lot
you.
of bands that get together on their first record. They're
trying to
fucking
figure that
great.
out.
And on their last record, they're great, but you don't really see the growth because it's all kind of gray.
This has been the ride. Like one of the most unexpected, emotional, incredible roller coaster rides of any band in my lifetime that I've seen go through it. The record shouldn't be kicking the door down like that at this point.
Yeah, we don't take it lightly, you know, and just speaking for myself, like I just give it your all. Like I hate it when bands feel complacent, you know, when they put out records like late in their career
Yes.
and they don't like, you just
We
feel like
all
they're phoning
know
it in.
those
Yeah.
bands.
No one phoned it in on this album. No one
you
did.
just
But
feel
the, but the
like,
trick here is I don't
oy,
think
oy, oy.
bands, very few artists intentionally wake up and go, let's just phone this one in, right? Like let's just keep the wheel turning, right? I'm sure it does happen.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people think they're still making their greatest work and they're still dialed into that fire. But from the outside listening to it, you can't hear it. Like I hear it. Like even the anthem part 3, it's come
God,
out and
I
give
love that
everyone
song.
a third one. All right, like that's a trilogy. Like that's a bold ass move, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably the best one because
so good.
it's speaking to the other two with wisdom.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That's a cool take.
And
That's
it's
how I felt.
touching
That's
on
that's
the
better than I would've
sounds
said, so thank you.
from part
But
1
I feel
and 2.
like the album, in a strange way, is like Enema, if Enema was a human, grown up, saying, hey, this is everything I've learned. Like I've still got that energy I had when I was making that record, but I'm wiser and I'm still here and I can actually communicate it now. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
I feel
That's
that.
how I feel. Like that's how I feel as a songwriter, as a lyricist. I mean, there's things that I look back on and I'm like, I need to do more of that now. But like all that I care about right now is writing something that feels important to me.
Yeah.
And it is authentic to my experience and to us and what I would want to stand on front of 15,000 people and sing about.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste, like, I almost fucking lost it all, so I don't want to put out anything shitty.
You don't know what you've got.
There you go.
I don't love the album
It's one of
cover.
the most powerful songs.
I kind
on
of
the
wish
whole
they'd
record.
bring the
It's
bunny
freaking-
back,
Yep.
as opposed to the smiley
It's
face
not
with the
lost on me
arrows.
in that
But
moment that
you
as
know.
Mark was resetting what value and success was to the friendship and the band, that we were staring at all the success from the past right there on the wall. We walked into the live room to continue the conversation, and the band picked up instruments and started jamming. It was clear that this is the original friendship, the original chemistry of Blink-182, but now with real life experience.
Yeah, comment down below if you like the smiley face logo or the bunny
Yeah.
logo more.
Well, the thing I found so moving, getting back to my original thought about you don't know what you've got, is that it's hard to talk about something so personal, but that is sadly experienced by so many people and not feel indulgent. It just doesn't feel like an indulgence, that song, at all. It feels like just an honest
I agree.
reflection of that experience.
It's
That's
just like,
kind of how I feel
hey, this is
about,
what
like,
happened
when I was
to me.
talking about it, just it's kind of our responsibility, especially being in a punk rock band. Like, you got to be really authentic, and you know that song came from Travis.
You wrote that song?
So I wrote the hook, and I presented the hook idea.
So happy to hear that, and so sorry that I
Yeah.
didn't assume that, but I'm happy I didn't assume
That's
it
what
because it
I'm
sounds
saying.
so real.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's so
Travis
dialed
has
in.
become this songwriter that's really great, and like he fucking sings on this album.
I know.
Yeah, I just like thought about it. Like I was sitting around writing, and I'm like, rather than Blink writing a song that's just like a single or a popular song, like write about Blink, like what Blink really experiences, and presented it to him, and then Mark wrote all the verses.
And when you hear him singing that, it encapsulates what he went through.
I just wish the
It
bridge
encapsulates
were
what the band
longer.
went through. It's like saying, hey, we're so
so
blessed
good.
and grateful to still have this. But then it's also Mark saying he's so blessed and grateful to have his life here,
Yeah.
to experience it, you know? And knowing that backstory makes the song a hell of a lot more important, I would think. It does
So
to me, you
stupid,
know?
I didn't even
Very
get it
hard
at
to hear certain
first.
songs on the record and not make the connection to elements and parts of the story that have really informed it. Like I said, it's moving, and we have to talk about the title track of the album one more time. People will automatically assume that, to some degree, this is a temporary reunion and that you're giving us
I
one more
never
dance around
assumed
the
that.
fountain. But I did take it when I heard the song the way it's intended, and please clarify that let's just do this one more time and not have to do it like we did it again.
That's how I
Let's
heard
commit
it.
to each other and really commit to each other.
That's
one
how
more
I
time.
heard it.
That is the
Not like
sentiment.
one
Yes.
last time.
We talked about it as a band. It's like naming it that, coming out with this kind of these words one more time. It's like, hey, you know, are people going to think we're just doing this? No, from us, it's very much like this is the last time we're going to fuck this up, you know.
Yeah.
And we're going to cherish this, and we're going to nurture it, and we're going to take care of it, and we're going to be thankful for it, and we're going to try and be the best we can be within it. But we're not going to sacrifice who we are, you know, the real personalities that we got, the real influences that
They've
we got.
crested the hill.
You know, I found
They've
this
gained
really
perspective.
old video I was telling you the other day of Mark. He's young, handsome, young buck. But he's backstage somewhere, and he's just doing kind of a real boring interview, and someone was very much like, why don't you take yourself seriously? And Mark, being tired, just was super earnest, wasn't even trying to make a joke out of anything, and he was very just like, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. We talk like this off stage, on the phone, like this is who we are. We make fun of each other. We push the envelope on what we say. We try to be as offensive as possible just to upset the status quo. And he goes, I'll never say I'm sorry for it, and I'm never gonna change. It's like there is nothing about our band in front of a camera and how we act that is any different than who we are when we're just a couple of us in a garage and a skateboard.
Yeah.
And we're not going to sacrifice that, you know. And I think that shows all the way through the shows that we're doing now and the record we're making. There's some dumb shit on the record, and it's funny, but there's some really fucking serious stuff.
You can play it however you want, but from a
Turn
fan's
this
point
off
of
for
view, when you
rips.
keep going deeper into the truth as well. When you keep finding a way to drag out new emotions and new feelings and present it in a uniquely Blink way, that's why you're a weird fucking band. Because somehow you pull this shit out when everyone else is pretending to be that. You're like, oh no, just for 3.5 minutes, we're authentically that too.
Yeah, we're not going to change. I mean, we take a lot of pride in like where we came from, in the bands we grew up on, in the scene that we grew up in. I feel a real strong connection to the scene we came out of, and I feel like we're one of the very few bands holding that flag of a time period where that type of music
Especially
came out
at
and
your
revolutionized
level.
the world in a way. You know, the whole pop punk thing was a beautiful musical movement, and we were so fortunate to be a part of that. And we're kind of, I feel like we're carrying that torch. You know, I feel a lot of responsibility with that. We grew up with bands like The Descendants and NoFX, Fugazi, and all these fat records, Epitaph and Lookout Records, and fucking. It's
Sitting
like that
this way
stuff
is
was like
destroying
so
my back.
influential to us. And
Sacrificing for you.
yeah, that's yeah. But
You got it first, the smart one.
But they really were. I mean, and it changed the way we dressed and what we talked about and what we did on the weekends, and
That's sort of how Blink was for
we
me.
can't lose that. It's in our DNA.
But equally, I got to say, you know, you're one of those rare bands that ultimately, that whole scene got commodified real fast.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
It was just like, boom, like I said, MTV, and you guys leaned into it. We're like, well, we can have fun with this now too. We can make a music video. It's going to go #1. We can play that. We can play this role, play this role.
Yeah.
But you were commodified, and then you commodified it back and turned it into industry and built this and much more out of that.
We just weren't so beholden to like the rules that some of those bands built for themselves. A lot of those bands built boxes that they really wanted to stay in, and they should if that's what they felt was right.
Yeah.
Travis brought a lot of hip hop, rap influence, street influence to the band.
Which is all entrepreneurial, by the way. I mean, it's like that is the modern day entrepreneurial business model.
And but it made our band better, and it made our band not in a box. And Mark and I didn't give a fuck we didn't even know what selling out meant. Like, we were us. What we do think
Selling
is
out?
that we weren't beholden
Cashing
to
in.
some of those musical boxes those bands
Nothing wrong
were
with
in,
cashing
just by
in.
the essence of having a drummer that can create new vibes and rhythms that even if
Especially
Mark and I
when
wrote something that
they're
was
just
pretty
being them.
standard pop punk, it wasn't going to be after we like really
the
rehashed it with
bag.
Travis. So we were instantly a little bit different, you know, and just did our own thing. But we weren't doing all that to separate ourselves from the scene we came in. We weren't doing all that just to be popular. It was just the essence of the musical components within the three of us using the best shit that we got. And it just worked out well, I guess. We weren't the first funny punk rock band. We weren't the first melodic punk rock band. We were definitely not the first like Southern California punk rock band. But who knows? There's a little bit of magic.
It's just this
there's a little bit of timing,
beautiful,
there's a little bit of
perfect
skill,
storm.
There's a whole lot of luck, you know, and it worked out. So we're just thankful.
All credit to you two though as well, because you know while you were not in Blink-182, the whole thing should have fucking imploded until this moment, and it didn't.
Bebop.
You know, you kept going.
Shout
You
out
were mad in the
Skiba,
band.
Alkaline Trio.
You made 2 great
Freaking
records, one of which was a real
rules.
success. And I haven't asked you this, but you know, how did it feel watching the band not only carry on,
Gimme.
but kind of carry on in,
Give me
in
this.
the 2.0 or 3.0,
Spill the
if you
tea.
consider Travis being the 2.0, and watching it from a distance, going, all right, I'm not in this band anymore, but it's like, to fans, it's still Blink.
That's me, Mark.
You guys are recording this, right? Super honest. Number one, I think Matt is epic. Like,
Yeah.
He
I
is.
always loved Matt as a songwriter. Alkaline Trio is a fucking great band.
Thank you.
And he's a really rad guy, you know? So I was never
Trio
bummed
rules.
on it. I really wanted these guys to be happy and be successful. I had a lot of things for myself that I was trying to conquer, you know, a lot of personal stuff going on that I had to get through. That was difficult. I had a lot of stuff with the government I was doing.
Yeah,
that
like-
I was like, found myself in these
There was no
weird
way it
oceans
was
I didn't know
easy
really
for
how to
him to
navigate.
walk
I was
away
doing my
from that.
best. I had
No way that was easy.
other works of art that I wanted to do, you know, with film and so on. So I felt really busy. I definitely didn't want to hold these guys back in any kind of way. I just wanted to be happy because I still loved them. And I didn't understand, like Mark said, I wasn't sure if we were going to play together again or not. It really, I remember telling my wife now, like, I told her, I don't think I'm ever going to play music again. I'll keep making records and put them out or whatever. I just don't really think I'm going to, I literally said, I don't think I'm ever going to tour again until Mark told me he was sick. And then I was like, that was the only thing I wanted to do. And it's funny how when those things happen, you kind of go, you know, who's been talking for me for these past few years? You know,
Respect
because
it.
the things I was saying is not obviously what's in my heart, you know? So sometimes you need like these big spiritual moments in your life that really chop you down to ground zero
right.
and you rebuild, lose the ego, lose all the weird stuff, and kinda
Regain
go,
your
who's the human
focus.
I want to be, who's the best version of myself that I can be, and find the joy and kindness to others and kindness to yourself. And so a little bit of that growth, that's with every human being. And when we got back together, I was like, fuck yeah, I want to do this. I do. You know, like nothing seems as important. And can we find our way again? You know.
What changed for you? Because you said something really powerful when we were over by the ping pong table.
Yeah,
You
about
know,
never
and
being on
it's hard
stage
for me
with him again.
because I've known you a long time.
Easy,
Nearly
Zane.
25 years.
Yeah.
It's not lost on me that I'm in this room and you welcome me in here to have this conversation, and I want to give you a chance to kind of almost have it just once.
Okay.
Because I know as fans, we've always wondered, like, what the fuck was going on? Like,
When?
you were in the sort of press going, it's cool, I'm all good with the guys.
Thank
We
you,
might even
Zane.
play together. Who knows? Dancing around that. I remember
Ask
seeing
the
that
hard
multiple
question.
times.
Go
and then
ahead.
I'll talk to you sometimes, you'd be like, absolutely not, never.
Right.
I didn't tell him.
Never
Should've told
again. And so, where was the disconnection there where he's going through this kind of feeling one way, and you're just like, oh no, I don't want to be on a stage with this guy?
Not wanting to be on stage with Tom was just because I just needed stability, and there's just not that, or there wasn't that with Tom at that time. We were supposed to record a record. We had plans to go into the studio. We kind of weren't talking. Everyone was kind of like retreated back to their corners. It was a weird time in the band. I literally, like, I remember very well, it was Christmas time. I bumped into Travis at Universal Studios. We had both taken our families to Universal Studios for their Christmas spectacular, and we're in like the Who down in Whoville area. And it's like our little fucking, oh, hey, there's Travis. And like I walk over with my group and Travis's group, we all kind of get together. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck is up with Tom? So I was like, I don't know. We're like, we're supposed to start recording in 2 weeks. I haven't even talked to Tom. What the fuck is going on? And we're like, I don't know. We break for the holidays. Management's talking, all this stuff. I'm in vacation in Hawaii, and it's literally New Year's Eve. I open my phone in the morning, I get an email. It's like, Tom has stopped all recording and work with blink-182 effective immediately. Don't call him, all this stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Don't
this
look
shit
at
again?
me with these cameras.
But, I mean, he was just at that point
I
in
love
Tom's
it.
life, and like, I mean, I don't blame him for it now. It sucked at the time, but like at that point, Travis and I, because I'm plus 44, when Tom quit the first time we started plus 44, we're like, we're not saying shit. We're not giving the press anything. We're not talking trash about our old friend. Like, we just put our heads down, recorded our album, went away for a year, released plus 44. This time we're like, oh no, fuck that. This time we're like, fuck Tom DeLonge. If he doesn't like Blink, then fuck it. Like, we're gonna keep doing Blink.
This is the human shit.
This is human shit.
And so I was still in that mind. Now, mind
I
you,
get it.
Travis for 2 years now, longer than that probably, because it was before I was even sick, would say things like, oh, you know, like when Tom comes back in the band, or when we tour Tom, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Dude,
Well,
Travis never gave
talk,
up.
we'll
He's
see.
a real one.
And Travis was a big believer long before I was.
Wishful
Hell yeah.
thinking or spiritually guiding that process
Hell
in
yeah,
your-
Travis.
in your mind?
I would randomly talk to Tom. Like one time I was on my way to Utah.
You never lost the
and,
connection. Come
I was
on.
going out there to do the post-Nirvana
Beautiful.
tribute thing we did during COVID. And I called Tom, or Tom calls me, whatever, we're chopping it up. And we were talking about this boxcar song that just lived on a hard drive that was like this gem that was really cool. And he's like, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to Utah, whatever.
that's where this
to
info
Post
came
Malone. And
from.
He said, who's that? So that's like how much Tom
dead
was,
ass.
Tom was into music at the time. I was like, really, you don't know? But long story short, we would talk all the time. We talked on that trip. We talked, I don't know, just every few months we would chop it up. Like, because there wasn't anything when we broke up where I was like, I mean, you get over those feelings of like, fuck Tom, like he did it again, whatever. It was like, I don't hold grudges. I was just like, whatever, we could talk and be friends.
Grudges
And,
only hurt you.
And then we got to a point where after talking to Tom a few times, I would talk to Mark and I'd be like, I really feel like Blink is me, you, and Tom. And as soon as we accept that and we just don't settle for anything less than that, I just think that's the future. I love Matt, but I
don't even hear that as
love Matt. He's a
shade
great
towards
friend.
Matt.
He's so talented, but I was like, that is truly Blink. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't exercise Blink or be out there playing unless it's us three.
I mean, at the time, right, it's got to be tough to take because, I mean, you're just trying to forge forward. You've got Matt in the band, you made a commitment, and it's, you know.
So yeah, I wasn't ready to hear it, and then Tom and I, like I said, I don't know when we like reconnected
Where are we
the
at?
second
Time
time,
check.
but it was just normal. It was over text, and there wasn't any animosity. And I think that, you know, I think it was really healthy for me when Tom left to go and do a record without Tom, have it be a success.
Yeah.
California did what it did.
It did.
Tom was very gracious. I met with him the day that Bored to Death came out on the radio.
There's a
He
big
was up in LA.
curiosity
We
factor with
met. I was
California.
really angry still. Tom
that I
was
think
really
propelled it.
peacemaking, and it was very like, I think it's a good song. I think you guys did a cool thing, and you know, wish you well. And I wasn't ready to hear it yet, but He was very gracious at the time. And so I think that helped a lot, was to be able, just like Tom on his thing was like, I needed to be able to step away from Blink with Boxcar and prove like, I can write a song that fucking rules without Mark and Travis. And I needed to step away and be like, I can write a kick-ass song without Tom DeLonge.
Yeah.
Watch this shit. Even though we've been doing it together for 20 years. But there'd always been that friendly competition, I think, between me and Tom of like, Tom writes a song, I try to write one a little better. He tries to write a little better than that. The bad, like the friendly, and Tom, fuck, that's a great song. What about this? Oh, that song, that makes it even better. So there's not only like a competition, but a collaboration as well that Tom and I had.
That's the magic.
And then obviously, you know, when Travis joined the band, it just blew things sky high. And so I think that there's still that. And that is what I like about being in this iteration of Blink. And Travis is totally right. Blink is the three of us. I feel it when I'm in the studio. I feel it when I listen to the shit. I feel it when I'm on stage more than anything. When it's the three of us on stage, I feel like unstoppable.
Tell it from the
feel
mountain,
like
Mark.
Invincible. Like we could fucking, like we crush. We're having so much fun. I like walk out on stage and I see
That
people
is so
smiling,
good to
and
hear.
it just gives me this, and I'm getting
So
goosebumps.
happy to hear that.
Thinking about it right now. Just
Same.
walking out on stage and being there after being, you know, living through the pandemic, living through cancer, band breaking up, plane crash, all the shit that Blink-182 has been through to get to this point, and I walk on stage and the lights go up and people are smiling and they're laughing and they're like pointing at stuff.
That is this band to me. I just
they're crying
smile.
together, and
They
have
make me smile.
signs, and like
They make me happy.
Tom makes a joke about aliens
God
and
bless
people go
Blink-182.
bananas, and like it's just so fun and healing and joyous and awesome, and all the shit that I love about being in Blink-182 is happening right now.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. We feel it. That's why the record's so fucking good. It's like
Yeah.
I started the conversation. I said it sounds like three friends backing each other completely. You know? It is emotional.
Yep.
I mean, I'm a lifelong Blink fan, you know, and we can never assume that what we want is what you need. That's dangerous, I think, for fans to cross that line. We get what we deserve and what you're willing to give us, right? As long as it's real. This album is so fucking real. Like, there's so many great songs on this album.
Thank you.
So
Terrifying.
real.
Out of control.
That's the one.
So that's the Boxcar song we had sitting around.
That's the Boxcar
That's the
one?
one.
Yeah.
It's funny, I can actually hear that. The discordance in there, I can hear a little bit
Yeah.
of the, you know, the bits that shouldn't work that do work.
Like the change, the
I would have
chord
never
change
guessed
between
it
the verse
unless
and
they
the
said
chorus.
it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now it's all I
Boxcar.
hear.
When we did that, it just sat for the longest time, and Travis and I were we really didn't want to put that out as that. We really wanted it to be here, and I'm so happy that it came out here.
It's incredible that this is on a Blink-182 album.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that's kind of my point.
that's
I mean,
amazing.
why it's like, you know,
Full
we really
circle.
can do everything here, and there's really no boundaries.
Yeah, you can do
I
all
think
those
right now there's just
sounds
such
as
a
Blink.
great sense of alignment between the three of us, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll eat
'Cause life
that
does get
shit
in the
up.
way, you know, like you start out as a band and all you have is each other, and then you get families and kids, and then you're battling with that. And in the years where I wasn't here, it's like, you know, I did go through a divorce, and it was fucking traumatic, and trying to figure out that part of your life and how that works with this part of your life. And then you have these other parts of your life that you really want to explore too, you know, and
And you're also dealing with the fact that, quite frankly, a lot of people, so-called in their right mind, thought that you left Blink-182 to become professionally crazy.
I know.
That is real conversations I had with
You know how
people.
pissed I
Oh,
am
you know,
that people
Tom,
are like, yeah, aliens are real now, and they're saying
I
it to
know,
con. I'm
I
so
know.
pissed.
Yeah.
I know, but at least
God
you're
damn
gracious
it.
enough to say he's right every now
Mark's
and
been
then.
hearing that for
Yeah.
But
way
I mean,
too long.
it was. I mean, I would go out for beers and we'd talk about the state of music, and Blink would
Yeah.
come up, and people would be like,
Tom
"What
lost
the
his
fuck
mind."
is Tom doing?
Everyone
He's out there
said that.
chasing aliens when his
Everyone
fucking guys
said,
are
"What
making,
happened
like,
to Tom?
Blink-182
He's
records."
lost his
I
mind.
know, but I'm not moved by, I'm not saying they are or anything, but just for me, like the things that move me are really emotional. It's like, do I feel like am I doing something that has value to somebody in a certain way, or do I feel that value? Because sometimes when you get into doing the same thing all the time, for me, you can get a little jaded or numb, and then that's the beauty of now. It's like, oh my God, like you just don't know what you got. You know, it's like you don't, or sometimes you don't realize it until it's gone or whatever. But
To be fair as well, we weren't ready for the emotional Tom. I remember when you came out with Angels and Airways for the first time.
Yeah.
And it felt when you performed live like it was life or death.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the crowd didn't know what to do with
But
that
that-
energy.
Yeah.
We would
like-
just be like, what do we do
They were
with
like,
this band?
"What
It
version
feels
of Tom is
religious."
this?
Well, that
Who is
band
this
for
guy?"
me was just like this expression of I was searching so hard for hope
Right.
and love, and like, because I was having a breakdown of it in my own personal life. And
He made some
grew
great
out of,
music with
you know,
Ava.
just a lot of as a kid, a lot of emotional abuse and stuff, and getting kicked out of high school and all that crazy shit. And so a lot of that was just how do you make a better life? You have to start with rebuilding who you are and loss of your identity and stuff. And that's just my own personal journey, you know? So a lot of people think Tom's crazy and he's going out and doing these things. It's still this kind of journey into what is consciousness and what does that mean? What is spirituality? And
All right,
how do I
take it
apply
easy,
that?
Tom. You're
You know,
losing
and
us
how- but
again.
I'm still the same dude. I'm still doing
kidding.
dick jokes all the time. And,
Yeah.
you know, so it's not like you left who you are, but you are definitely growing up because all of us have lived through tragedies now, and all of us have lived through things that really tear apart pieces of your heart, and you got to mend
Don't
them
I
back
know it.
together and figure out how to be a better version of yourself.
Well, in a way, it's a blessing because that journey that you've been on, and each of you have been on, allowed you to be able to your point when we were back there, to connect with you when you got sick in a very real way. Not in a, I'm just being thoughtful and I want you not thinking of you way, but in a it's almost like I have seen things and know things that know it is possible to bend things in the right direction.
You're talking about, I'm moved by emotion, and I'm moved by you know, is my heart being tugged on, you know? And when he told me he was sick, that's the gnarliest. That was that's the most human, and to me that felt the most authentic and purest form of love, is to be there for my friend as much as I can be, you know? And that's why I was super excited to play with him. It wasn't about fame or money or how big Blink was or anything. It was
Oh, my eyeballs
"You're gonna
started
get through
sweating
this
again
shit,
for a
and we're gonna go
second.
dominate, you know,
I got so sick of hearing Tom's positive shit. I really did. You're gonna do great. You're gonna get through this. You're gonna crush this. On the days where I just wanted to wallow.
Yeah.
A positive, kind word. You're like, I want to be shitty today. I don't want to be positive.
I call him up. I'm like, hey, it's me again. What are you doing? I'm in your bushes.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. It's true. And you should be entitled to have those days too. But
Oh, I had plenty of those days.
Yeah, for real. Some interesting co-writes on this album. I love the way you interpolated Robert Smith with The Cure into Found Love.
Yeah.
Super cool. And a nice nod to a band that I think die-hard Blink-182 fans know what that band means to you. But I
for
think,
sure.
you know, there are certain fans that won't realize.
I
Very
learned
similar
that
in many
back in
respects, you know,
self-titled, for
the
sure.
ability to come from a very dark place. They're almost opposite. They come from this darkness, but
Totally,
strive
yeah.
for the light.
Totally.
And you guys go oh, we come from the light, but fuck, we're dark. You know?
That's actually
Well,
really
we got
funny.
a coffin back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we love The Cure. All of us idolize Robert Smith and The Cure. I mean, Simon Gallup, the bassist from The Cure, is why I play bass.
Yeah.
I saw him in the Just Like Heaven video, and I'm like,
We've
that's
all
what I
seen
wanna
Mark
do.
with
I
that
really wanted to be involved in music. I didn't know what it was.
Cure
I thought it was
era
keyboards,
hair.
maybe guitar, maybe sing. I saw Simon Gallup. I'm like, that dude looks cool.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to do something, and especially with a bass line that's based so much around close to me,
Yeah.
it's just a rad song.
That's
It's
cool.
a beautifully collaborative experience. I know the people involved on this record, you know, I love that Tim shows up. You know, Tim Armstrong, I still to this day think the Transplants was one of the greatest things.
I don't know
he
about
did
some of these
outside Blink, and I
collabs.
love that music.
That song was it came about in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I had a few hours at the time I was doing this project, and they're like, you've got to turn in 5 songs. And I was like, well, I have 3 hours. So I went in and I sang and recorded 5 hardcore songs. And that was one of them.
Who's telling you got, who is this mystery swing guy who's like, Travis, you got to turn in 5 songs in 3 hours?
It was for a project. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
oh, easy. I'll sing, I'll play drums, whatever.
Yeah.
Tim's gonna play guitar, and then I basically made a hardcore EP, kind of influenced by Gorilla Biscuits and Judge and
Yeah.
all of my favorite punk rock bands,
Okay.
Cro-Mags. And then I showed it to Tom one day and Mark, and they were like, "Whoa, this sounds like early Beastie Boys or something." So that's kind of how that song came about. And then
F-Bass,
Tom
by
sang
the
it.
way.
Mark played
It's
bass.
the Tim
you sang
Armstrong
on it?
song.
I did.
We trade back and forth,
Oh,
but
okay, cool.
our vocals
trying to
are
get
so
comfortable 'cause
distorted,
this
it just sounds
posture
like the
is
same
just
person, but it's
not
actually
normal.
me and Tom going
You've
back
never
and forth.
sung on Blink music until now, though, right?
Not really. I would do things on Obvious or
Yeah, you had a couple little
or
parts
little
that.
things lyrical ideas on I Miss You, things like that. But no, this is the first album that I sang on.
He's got a great voice.
That's the thing I've been saying for years. Travis has sung a few times around me. He has a great voice. He should do more of it.
better than
Take
me
some
and
of
Mark.
the fucking burden off of us.
Well, each of you as well had to register that's kind of complimentary. It's almost like the perfect triangle. It's like, here's Tom.
Really nice
here's Mark,
layers.
Here's Travis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should see us when we're in bed together. It works the same way.
Did you see the clip that's just gone out on the internet of the sports announcer doing his impression of you? Because
Yeah.
have you seen that?
So good.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's fucking
Through the
amazing.
MLB
He
thing.
has no idea who you are until the guy goes, he's like, where are you? Oh, yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy.
I'm so sorry. It's
a
the
great
most
clip.
perfect,
Yeah.
flawless impression. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
That's
Tom,
supposed
we
to become
heard
a
the
cultural
Yed
touchstone.
in Anthem
just
Part
that,
3.
Tom singing that and the way that he sung
Total
it,
callback to that.
on that day, it was just rad.
And it's funny too, because when you go back there, it's like I remember being in the studio. I just got to nail the pitch somehow. I don't know how to do this, and you're trying so hard. Where are you? You know, where are you? You know, you're trying so hard, and then all of a sudden it becomes like this, like it's just known for its imperfectness.
Who would have guessed that
It was so
become
rad at
a thing
Coachella
of
when we
meme
stopped
legend?
and like, everybody sang that one section. It's just so cool. It's just a rad moment. And
Well, Travis and you said we should stop for that. I had no idea. I was, oh yeah, whatever you guys want, cool. But like, I'm like, okay, where? And the whole place seems like, whoa, like the wind's hitting you.
I want to say they did it kind of in your voice as well.
yeah, totally.
Probably, yeah.
You
Oh,
have
yeah.
to do that voice. You can't sing that part and not
They all
do the
pinch
Tom
their
voice.
nose and shit, grab their dicks, and it's like,
You've got quite a few of those, you know. I think about the All the Small Things video as well, which at the time, you know, we all thought was hilariously funny, but kind of, you know, really ultimately was the single most important factor in completely, utterly destroying the boy band phenomenon of that time. I mean, that was the beginning of the end.
We're the Nirvana to glam.
To hair metal, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And then it was kind of interesting that, you know, your new better half, congratulations, by the way, decided to pull that prank on you on stage. Did any of you know that was going to happen? She was going to hit you with the sign?
I knew.
They knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. So when it happens, I'm like, am I supposed to go down there? And Mark's like,
He's like, what do
"Oh,"
we do?
you know,
How do I
so-
celebrate this?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Pregnant.
That's pretty amazing.
cool.
Yeah. Did you have to strain to see what it was saying though? Because you're kind of up the back, like.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I rarely get called out of behind my drum kit to
Right.
go do something.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, okay.
What do I do with my legs and my
Yeah.
hands? How does this work?
well, he's
Yeah,
got
it's
so, I mean, his arms are shaking, the adrenaline, he hits so hard, he's
Yeah.
wired up to all this shit.
Yeah.
It's like getting an astronaut out of the capsule
Yeah.
for 10
Yeah,
seconds.
right.
What was the rest of that show like? I mean, that's some life-changing news right there every single time. I mean, it's like, that is probably the ultimate core value of being a human
His
being
eyes
right
are this
there.
big, he's like scared to death, he's all, more kids!
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful moment. Like, yeah, it was honestly weird to go back and finish playing.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, but it was really cool and special.
What an incredible 3 lives you've built for yourselves, full of twists and
Thank you,
turns
Zane.
and just mad experiences. I mean, just going around the room and seeing what you've achieved in your lives, the decisions you've had to make to follow your hearts, where it's led you, and how you maintain. I still feel like I'm talking to those 3 guys in that wine bar downstairs in London. I mean,
I saw
really,
that
I fucking
on
do.
YouTube. I saw that the other day.
Where he's trying to sniff the fucking sugar and you guys are hazing him for sniffing it. Do you still sniff your food, by the way?
I was so high and not present during. I don't even remember seeing you at Universal Studios or
No,
whatever.
really?
The story. No, like I only remember the last I don't know.
Are you high
many
right
years.
now?
No. But yeah.
You know, it's weird. I mean, there's a lot of history in the stories, and you add them all together. It's like 1 + 1 = 3. You know, it's like a lot. But I do think most people go through this in their life, yourself included, where like if you were to look back of all the times where you've had a lot of pain and a lot of wins and a lot of just, you know, mundane neutrality, I'm sure that you probably have your own epic hero's journey for yourself. And I think everyone does. I think we're kind of in the public eye, and then when you add them all together, it's like this crazy legacy or whatever. But I do think that one of the things that's so relatable about us is that our journeys are kind of out there for people to follow, and I think they can relate to them in certain ways.
Well, we related to you very quickly. We fell in love with the band. Like, we loved the songs, but we all loved the 3 of you together.
A
And so
very
in
easy
weird
band to
way,
love, in my
I
opinion.
think our expectations were really high all the way through.
It's wild. You know what is funny? I was telling someone the other day, I was like, I think people are finally like, you're finally the band we thought you could be. You know, it's kind of like, we always knew there was potential. Didn't know if you fuckers would nail it, you know? And it's funny, I feel like so much pride in like what we got going right now. Like I always had a lot of pride in it. I always thought that we were fucking awesome, you know?
Yeah.
But like, but,
I love that.
but it's
Hell
true.
yeah.
But it's like now I'm kind of like,
Me
I
too,
actually think we're
Tom.
good and awesome. Because it could be 2 different things. Like there's a lot of bands that I think are fucking awesome for all
They've
their
always been good
imperfections, you know?
and always been effing
and a lot of
awesome
those
in my
imperfections
eyes.
within us over the years were our strengths, but I really recognize all that stuff now, but I just think we're doing it kind of better than.
Oh, you couldn't finish an album with a song like Childhood.
Yeah.
Until
cool
now.
Song, right?
The only song I don't really
yeah.
love, by the
It's leveled
way.
up again. I love that you chose to finish. I love that it starts with Anthem 3 and it ends with Childhood, and it feels like everything in between, like I said, is this love letter to all of the experience that you've had.
Yeah, from the very inception, I think Travis and I were talking like the day that that song came together. We're like, this feels like last song on the record, statement song. Where does our childhood go?
Where does it go?
Where does it go?
Yeah, and even if you think about the sentiment of One More Time.
I think about that.
Isn't it okay to acknowledge that
I'm
things
old.
end now? I mean, they've ended so many times. I'm not saying you should, but isn't it okay to just acknowledge it so that you can live in the moment and take it for what it is?
Yes. I think that if anything over the past,
I love the
30
sentiment
years
of
this band's
childhood. I just
career
don't love
has
it
taught us all
musically.
is that you have to enjoy the times that we're together and having a good time and take these blessings and support one another and be kind and don't take anything for granted and just go out there and be true to ourselves. Every single time that we've just put our heads down and done our own thing and write music that we love, the three of us love, and that's important to us, it has served us well. Every time that for me, I'll just speak for myself, every time that I've tried to write a song that I think that other people will like, it is the most milquetoast, mediocre, fucking throwaway song that means nothing to me or anybody else. But the times when I write stuff that I'm like, I'm embarrassed if people know that this is about me and I'm talking about myself. And whenever I feel like that, it served me well.
Yeah.
Whenever I've said this hurts, whenever I've said that this, like about something that I've gone through or something that I see Travis go through or whatever it is, it's always served us well.
You produced the shit out of this album too, bro. Holy
Thank you.
Some might say a little too much with
There's
the
fucking
vocals.
moments where I feel like this thing's about to take off and like
get a
it's
pass
literally
from
spiraling
me.
off into space.
Officially
Well, it better
biased.
with all of your compliments. If it doesn't, it's fucking awkward.
No, but it reminds me a little bit of like Ritual del Habitual in that sense. Remember in songs like Ain't No Right when it's like they just go and they just fucking fly off into space for about 60 seconds and Navarro loses his fucking mind?
Yeah.
There's moments on this album
I have
that
no
really
idea what
remind
you're
me of that
referencing.
in terms of just somehow you got the playing and the energy. This is not even an interview, I'm just giving him compliments.
This is the best part of the interview.
No, but it's true. I mean, you know, you leaned into this and you gave it the love that the band needed right now and the music that it deserves, man. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I spent like a lot of time. I mean, Jerry Finn was the best producer ever to work with our band. So I would I would have moments where I'd be like, what would Jerry do? And I'd really like, you know, I would think.
He had the
about
bracelet,
songs and
WWJD.
parts all over our first tour, actually.
What would
I came
Jerry
back-
do?
What song was that? Oh, I came back to like, You Don't Know What You Got. And I was ruminating all over this like one thing in that song. But I would keep me up for a month straight while we were on tour. And then I got home and I'd be like, I'm gonna fix that. That's the one thing. So I spent a lot of time like being in the band. And then I spent a lot of the time taking myself out of being in the band and being a fan of the band, which I was in the very beginning before I was in this band. And trying to like connect all the dots. And I pray that I did that as best as I could.
You know? Nailed it.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing up Jerry. I wanted to talk about him briefly, and I think it's a nice way for us to kind of get ready for the rest of the life of the band, is to sort of take a few minutes just to talk about, you know, his influence on the band and really ultimately.
R.I.P.
I
Jerry.
do feel like what you said is so lovely about. I feel like he's still here in Blink-182. You know what I mean? When I hear the
Relax,
album.
Zane.
The way that Jerry was able to get the best out of everybody, and everybody that Jerry worked with was convinced that they were Jerry's best friend, that Jerry was their favorite, that they were Jerry's favorite person in the band, and that their band was Jerry's favorite band.
That's awesome.
And he got the best out of everybody by talking the language that Travis knows, by talking to Tom for what Tom needed, getting the best out of me, Davey Havoc, Matt Skiba, everybody that Jerry worked with got the same thing. And Jerry just loved music. He hated the spotlight at all. He wouldn't do press, he didn't care, but he would talk to the assistant engineer at the studio for an hour about a compressor that the guy asked him about. And he was so generous with his knowledge, and like most producers and engineers jealously hide their little tricks of EQs and little things like that, and mixers especially, because you know they don't want anybody using their techniques. And Jerry would invite people into the room and be like, oh, you wanna know how I got that guitar sound? This is how we did it, and be like that. No ego at all pure love of music.
And he was so funny, and he laughed at the funniest shit. Like, we would laugh, we would do things like in the studio that, I mean, tears And we would start out every day with fucking Family Guy and shit before anyone knew what that was, and just watch that for like 2 hours and eat a bean burrito, and then we would start.
What's your favorite memory of personally of him working with you, or something he said to you, or how he sort of reacted to a take, or something in the studio that happened?
Oh my God, well, that has nothing to do with the studio. We went to a Starbucks one night, and Mark and I acted like he farted, and he didn't. And so we blamed it on him in the line, and we left, and Jerry wanted his coffee so bad. There's like 30 people in line, and he walked out of the car so mad at us because we ruined his coffee, but I just thought it was so fucking funny. But honestly, my favorite memory of Jerry, like, is, I mean, well, God, he brought us Mitch Hedberg. He brought us Family Guy. Like,
Mitch Hedberg, he loved comedy.
Adam's song came from Mr. Show.
Adam's song came from Mr. Show.
That was him, too. But just teaching me how to play, like, in the sense of, like, that was the first time I had to play good in the studio. Like, you're out, you're out, you're out. That's not in pitch, or that's not in time. And I'm like, what the fuck are you listening to?
Yeah.
Sounds great. But I started to learn what he was hearing, and I started to learn what it takes to actually, you know, better yourself and do it right. So, and everything was analog then. There's no computer, so you can't go in there and edit this shit. You got to fucking play it, or it's not going to get on there. So, there's a lot of that I really, really valued, and just his attention to detail. And he was an audiophile. Like, he cared about he would spend hours of which cable he wants to use that goes from the head of 30 amps to the head of 30 speaker cabinets. So he's like, interchange each one, and then try each cable, and then try each mic, and then it's like fucking insane.
Travis fucking crazy. Like 2 days to get a snare sound? You fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
It would take me 6 hours, 7 hours to record the entire album, and he would spend twice as long just getting drum sounds.
Yeah.
So I would be like, you know, I'm only gonna be here for like 6 or 8 hours, right? You know?
It was maddening,
It was so funny.
But it's cool to learn that in the beginning.
It was
and
awesome.
understand it, so you can make those choices later and go, I don't need to do that.
Well,
I
he was
kinda
getting your
know
chops
what
up, right? I mean, it is a school.
It's
I
school.
mean, all of it was school.
It was all school.
It's a school.
And that's what I really valued with him.
I mean, it's
for
not like
sure.
you guys went to fucking school. You went to a band.
I learned everything from Jerry.
Yeah.
I learned like everything as far as recording
great.
and studio techniques and studio like etiquette, the way that you say to somebody else, I don't like that. The way that you interact with people. Like you're in a studio, everybody's raw, everyone's putting themselves out there. The best work is being done when people are raw,
5
exposed.
in the morning,
This is my fucking soul. I'm putting it out in this room, and somebody goes, I don't like that. How do you say that without shutting the whole thing down?
Yeah.
And he was cool. Like, he
Yeah.
constantly wouldn't work with every band wanted to work with him. And
He'd say no
he would
all
say
the
no all the
time.
time, but he really liked us and believed in us. And I think that gave us a sense of pride in ourselves, you know.
Shout out
like
to
we
Jerry
really
for helping
believed
Blink
him, you know, and you need that in the
be the
studio
band they are
sometimes, when there's
today.
a outside force that comes in and goes, you're fucking good, and let's grow this, you know.
Can you imagine what he'd say now, man? He'd be so stoked that this album happened and that you produced it and that you're still a band.
And he would genuinely be happy.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't be like, I wish I did that. I wish that was my record. He would be like,
School's out.
yeah, be like, I'm so proud of you guys.
All right, last question. Going down all three of you.
Oh,
What's the best thing for you about being in Blink-182? What's the one thing now
Go
that's
ahead.
happening one more time
it's a good one.
for the rest of time? What's the one thing that you truly love the most?
It's a good one.
I think like hearing people say, this is the best Blink-182. I think they're absolutely right. Like, this is the best version of it. And I think it's like being in a band with like my brothers and it being healthy, and we're having fun, and we're making like what I consider some of the best songs we've made, and playing some of the best shows we've ever played. And it doesn't ever feel like work. I feel like that's like the definition of like the best.
That
thing
is
about
living the
Blink-182
life.
right now.
If it doesn't feel like work, you made it.
Coming out of being sick, I thought to myself, like, okay, by the way, when you get better after having a terminal illness, it's the easiest thing to fall back into like the bullshit of everyday life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that you feel the same way. Like, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I get to live. And then you're like, oh man, the fucking guy didn't fix the thing right again. And I gotta go, like all this. But I was like, okay, get one more chance at life. Okay, you don't have to work again. What if you had the opportunity to do whatever you wanted in your life? What would you want to do? I would want to fucking make music with my best friends in the world. I'd want to get up in the morning and be creative. And I'd want to hang out with my family and friends. And that's it. And that's all that I fucking want to do. And that's all that I get to do. So
You're blessed, Mark.
the smiles on
Truly
people's
blessed.
faces and the feeling of being in this band are beyond anything. I was just hoping to get better enough that I would get to see my wife and kid and to walk out on stage, like I said, and see the smiles and the tears and the people singing along. Like, I literally just like cry on stage every night. I feel like,
Dude, the moment in that song where you talk about the poison skin and
Yeah.
it's just,
it's gnarly. Like, there was a
gnarly.
point where the chemicals that they were putting into me were so toxic that the nurses had to completely gown up. Total gowns, heavy gloves, face shield. My wife could not use the toilet
Crazy.
for 3 days after my treatment
Wow.
because there might be a chance that some toilet water from me being in there before
Wow.
would splash back up onto her body and infect her skin. And they're pumping me with bags full of this shit.
It's amazing
So
that
I think
that's
back to moments like that, and
that's what
and
we've
then I
thought
walk out
of.
on stage and there's
Combat
people,
that.
people
Combat
spend
that.
their
I hope
fucking
we can.
time to come see our band play on a Wednesday night in fucking Baltimore, Maryland.
And I'm watching the YouTube videos, bro. They're all shot from the bleachers and from the seats, and people are screaming and laughing, and you hear people in the background going, "Yo, there's Tom! Yo, there's Tom!" You know, and people are
Totally.
just tripping out. It's like almost better sometimes hearing the way people are reacting. That's almost a thing in
I
itself.
love it. That's from, so sorry.
You're saying you like
long-winded
reactions,
answer. I
Zane?
apologize. It's,
Well.
it's just being here and people's faces
All
and
right.
the joy in the room.
Okay.
My turn?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, how do I beat this shit? Like, it's kind of hard to beat it.
No, you gotta do like Three Amigos. You're like, I'm gonna give my money away to charity. Yeah, I'm gonna give my money away to charity too.
I think for me, it's, you know, for me, it was always heavy on my heart that our friendship wasn't mended, and that heaviness weighs on you when you have something that's important to you in a relationship with somebody and you don't really fix it. It's just kind of lingering. It's like, you know, it's like say you didn't get along with your dad, and you're like, I gotta go finish this with my dad before it's too late or something.
Reach,
And
Tom.
having the ability to come together and fix the friendship and come back together as the brothers we are is so important to me because it allows me to be so just insanely grateful for this and how it touches other people now. There isn't like this aura of toxicity that might have been in my heart for reasons that weren't even really valid, or maybe somewhere it doesn't even fucking matter. All I care about now is like now I can really stand within this thing and also look outside of it and look within and see what it really is and what it's doing for people and what it's done for people. But I wasn't able to see that when I felt like we weren't mended as individuals. So I really love that human kind of growth and that path, just spiritually, you know, like I just think like having that weight off my heart and feeling closer to these guys really makes me able to see what this
They're in a
is
good
and
place,
value it
people.
so much more.
And
And
that
be
bodes
so
well for us
honestly
as
happy for what
fans.
it does for people. But it's funny, like when you were just saying people screaming, the first thought that went in my head right there was like Mark and I were like, what are you guys screaming at? Looking around like, we don't know who you're yelling at. Like, it's so our band. I'm like, are you looking at us? Why are you guys looking at us? Yeah, so I'm just genuinely happy for the personal kind of growth and then being able to see everything in a new light.
Thanks for getting it back together. Thanks for making the album of your life so far.
We're clapping your hands,
Thank you
Zane.
for the time that you've given us and the access for all of us to come here. And I really enjoyed our time together, man. And I can't believe we're going to get to do it again sometime. It's awesome.
Same, thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Good slap, beat that slap.
You guys got a good.
That's pretty good.
Oh, that was good. You better not fuck it up.
Yeah, that's my style.
Wet hand.
Wow, okay, so that was the Zane Lowe blink-182 interview, and now I guess I'll share some of my thoughts about it. Yeah, overall I thought it was a pretty good interview. Obviously Zane Lowe knows blink-182 personally, so I guess it's definitely a softball interview. He wasn't necessarily going in there and trying to grill them and get all the juicy tidbits, so to speak. I mean, they were definitely prepared to talk about certain things, but he's obviously close to them. He's going to hype it up, and that's why they brought him in to do this, because they knew he was a fan. They had a close relationship with him, and overall, I think it was a good interview, though, especially for just diehard fans, because it was really refreshing to hear Mark and Tom and even Travis, to a certain extent, talk about some of these really personal things in such a candid manner. And a lot of that stuff were things that previously we were only really able to speculate on, and it kind of drove me crazy at the time, not knowing what was going on with this band that I love so dearly, and to see them fall apart and not have all the answers and have everything be so vague. I remember it just drove me crazy at the time. Zane, he's okay. He's an alright interview. He teeters on the melodramatic sometimes, a little bit too much for me. He's a little bit extra, but I did think that the interview was great and a must-see for anybody that really loves Blink-182. And even if you're just kind of a casual fan, a lot of that stuff was actually really interesting and informative. I actually didn't know that Tim Armstrong was involved with the new album. Whether or not One More Time is going to be one of my favorite albums by Blink-182 is sort of yet to be seen. I think it's way too early to say such a thing. I just need time to sit with it, and then I can put it in its proper place. But I have spent some time with the album. I've listened to the 2 additional songs. Check those out on the channel. But yeah, overall, I am quite happy with it. But time will tell to see where it fits in the overall discography of one of my all-time favorite bands, if not my all-time favorite band, Blink-182. But what did you guys think of the Zane Lowe interview? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. But as always, thank you so much for helping my small channel grow. Thank you for watching this video. I know it was a long one, but I will catch you in the next one.